and point to one guy and say he'll be in the final.
World Victory Road lightweight champion Satoru Kitaoka defends the title against Mizuto Hirota. Kitaoka's 5-0 in WVR with 14 of his 19 career wins coming via submission, while Hirota's 1-1 in WVR and 7 of his 11 overall wins have come via form of knockout. It's the classic striker versus grappler.
Well, it's a boom or bust kind of fight, and any Kitaoka fight is going to be like that at this point in time. Fight starts standing, so there's always a chance he's going to get clipped. But on the ground, there are so few guys in the division that can hang with him, especially because of the fact that it's not just that he's a really good grappler, he's so outstanding in some regards that it's really, really hard to deal with. If Mizuto Hirota can keep standing for any length of time and land any shots, he can seriously win. He's a decent grappler, yet he definitely doesn't have the skills to hang around there too long. So it's one of those fights where you'll probably either see, a quick knockout out of Hirota, or when it goes to the mat, you'll see Kitaoka get a quick submission. It's definitely one of those things where it's going to be one of two outcomes, and for whoever wins, it will look fantastic, and they will look, extremely impressive in victory, and for whoever loses, it will look extremely deflating and embarrassing.
In middleweight action, Kazuo Masaki was arrested earlier this year in Japan after an incident with police. Will face Pride and UFC veteran Kazuhiro Nakamura. Here's the deal. Masaki's fight purse is being donated to charity, and he'll be suspended indefinitely by World Victory Road following Sunday's scrap. Now, if Nakamura wins, he'll be the #1 contender to the middleweight title currently held by George Santiago. Santiago defeated Nakamura in the final of the middleweight Grand Prix. For more news, make sure you visit thescore.com/The MMA Show and thefightnetwork.com. When we come back, find out what UFC President Dana White had to say during Friday's conference call. You're watching The MMA Show. Thanks for sticking with The MMA Show. On Friday, UFC President Dana White held a conference call, and he promised many, many big announcements. Did it live up to the hype? You be the judge.
First of all, I'm sure everybody wants to hear about the Fedor deal. And I've said many times that I believe that my job as a promoter and as the president of this company is to bring the fans not only the best fights in the world with the best fighters in the world, but more importantly, the fights that the fans want to see. And when I tell you how bad I wanted to make this thing happen, because everybody wants to see it so bad, and I'm also a big fight fan, and I love to answer the questions. Is this guy the best? Is that guy the best? Who is the best? And there's only one way to answer any of those questions, and that's to have these guys fight. And when I tell you that we tried everything that we could possibly do to get Fedor into the UFC, we went above and beyond. Now, I have been able to sign the best fighters in the world over the last 10 years into the UFC. You think of any of the greats of all time, even Tito Ortiz, whom I've had, we'll call it a lot of conflict with. We've been able to sign Tito back a couple of times. Even as bad as it got with me and Tito, we've had Tito back in the UFC. So our inability to do a deal with this guy, we came to the table willing to give up just about anything except the co-promotion. And we offered him the most amazing deal. I guarantee you he will not be offered another deal like this in mixed martial arts. They didn't want to do it. For whatever reason, they did not want to sign a deal with the UFC. So I don't want anybody to ask me any Fedor questions. Did we offer him an amazing deal? Absolutely we did. I guarantee you he will not be offered a better deal than this in mixed martial arts. I guarantee it. Even if you went back to when a lot of those companies were still alive last year and there were guys throwing big money around, I guarantee you nobody offered him a deal like we did. Guys that we do have locked up right now, for sure, Vitor Belfort, Paul Daly, Ben Rothwell, Chase Gormley, Dan Lazon, Oliveira, and then guys going to the WC, Javier Vasquez, L.C. Davis, Mark Hominick, and we're in talks with all the other guys right now. I don't want to say their names, but there's a lot of other guys we're talking to and some guys that we're not talking to. But those are the guys that we have locked up. I like to bring the fans the best fights I can possibly bring them and the fights that fans want to see. When we announced that Rich Franklin was fighting Dan Henderson, fans were pissed. There was some backlash. People didn't like it. So we went out and we just signed Vitor Belfort. So Vitor Belfort is now fighting Rich Franklin in Dallas in September. That's the new main event. And Dan Henderson is probably next in line to fight for Anderson Silva's title. So we're changing that card. The fans didn't like it, so we're going to change it. It's now Rich Franklin versus Vitor Belfort headlining Dallas. And last but definitely not least, on the phone with us today for this conference call is Tito Ortiz. Like I said, Tito and I have a history that pretty much everybody knows. Tito Ortiz is still a guy that fans want to see fight. He just had back surgery, and he's getting back into training. He said his back is healed perfectly, the doctor said. He feels good, and he's ready to compete in the 205-pound division and take a shot at the title again.
I think time really cures everything. Dana came to me, and he was the man of his word. He apologized to me for the things that he did prior. We're kind of like boyfriend or girlfriend, of course, him being the girlfriend. But, but we for me personally, it was about competition. My fans deserve the best of Tito Ortiz. Financially and everything, I'm okay. I have nothing to worry about that. It was just my name and likeness I had to stand for, and I did. And Dana really stuck by his word and kept his word. And Lorenzo Fertitta and Frank Fertitta, I'm very thankful for all three of them for doing what they did. But competition was my biggest factor. If I fought for Strikeforce, who would I fight against? Bob Alou, I'd crush his face. Frank Shamrock, I would be the first death in mixed martial arts history. Who else would there be? Nobody else. So I think my fans are the ones that really need to deserve the best of Tito Ortiz. Now that I got a new back surgery and everything's done, I'm healthy. I'm 100%. I'm able to start wrestling again. I have no more pain going down my legs, no more numbness. I'm very excited, but I think competition was the biggest thing, The hell with all the money, the hell with all the fame and everything. It's about competition, and that's what my fans want to see, is me fighting at the top I possibly can. I look at the past 3 UFC champions. Forrest Griffin, I beat. Rashad Evans, I thought I beat, but they called it a draw. Machida, I gave him the best fight any fighter has gave him to this point. I almost submitted him. So, me coming back at 100%, every one of these light heavyweights better watch out, because I'm coming full force, and I want to get that world title around my waist again.
One thing's for sure, there is never a dull moment in mixed martial arts. That's why you have to keep it locked right here to the MMA show. We'll have much more on the future of not only the UFC, but the entire mixed martial arts landscape coming up on next week's show. Stick with us. The email of the week is straight ahead. Welcome back to Canada's first and most comprehensive mixed martial arts program. This is the MMA Show. It's time for the email of the week. And Charles writes, we used to talk about IFL, Elite XC, and Affliction as competitors for the UFC. Do you think that Dream is the only real competitor to the UFC? And do you think that Dream has the potential of becoming the next Pride? Well, Charles, first of all, thanks a lot for your email. I don't know if we're ever going to see another Pride Fighting Championships, having been a part of the organization during its halcyon days. It was indeed something special, larger-than-life production, and, of course, some of the greatest fighters in the world at the time. Of course, the UFC now a major juggernaut in mixed martial arts. And Dream, even though it's trying to rise from the proverbial ashes of what was Pride FC, they've yet to really create a national superstar in the land of the rising sun. They need another Kazushi Sakuraba, Hidehiko Yoshida. And they haven't found one yet. They've featured some great matches, of course, featuring Eddie Alvarez and Joaquim Hansen, Eddie Alvarez and Tetsuya Kawajiri. But it doesn't appear that the mixed martial arts landscape in Japan is going to be that kind to Dream. The ratings on television aren't that great. So I don't think they're going to be the next big competitor for the UFC. And in fact, I don't think anyone should compete with the Ultimate Fighting Championship. But if you were to ask me who the number 2 organization in the world is, and yes, I'm biased, it right now is Strikeforce, thanks to its solid TV deal with Showtime and, of course, the sound business model that has been put together by its founder, Scott Coker. And I want to talk a little bit more about the mixed martial arts landscape, a new segment. We're trying to get you more involved with the show, and kicking things off is score reporter Troy White, a huge fan of mixed martial arts. Troy, thanks a lot for joining us. And first of all, how shocked were you at the demise of Affliction, and why do you think Affliction failed?
Yeah, first of all, Mauro, thanks for having me.
Very
Big
welcome.
fan.
Thanks.
For a long time. In terms, it's been quite the week, as we all know, with the Affliction folding. Lots of internet chat rooms and stuff like that. We're all trying to find the next information and the most up-to-date information. I think the big demise of Affliction was just in terms of they overpaid. I mean, right from the gate, Dana White said that Affliction would fold by 2009, and here we are in 2009, and he is a man of his word. He's got to be laughing a little bit right now.
Yeah, he's got that proverbial Cheshire cat smile. And what do you make, though, of Affliction not only going by the wayside, but